Welcome back for another video. It's a pleasure to be back for this week's experts video, looking at what the top managers in the world are doing with their FPL teams. Who are they buying? Who are they selling? Who are they captaining? And even which assistant manager is the one they're buying. Let's get into it. The top ranked manager is Alex Williams, who's top of the Experts League after a huge score of 117 points, taking up to 1.2k overall. They really smashed it last week. The average score in the Experts League was exactly 100 points, 26 above the global average. There's 10 managers ranked in the top 10k now, and there's loads just outside. This week, just 8% are rolled on their transfer, so there's loads of transfers this week. Some are debating whether a manager transfer is worth it. Many others have got upgrades elsewhere needed in their teams as well. Some are transferring both players and managers this week even. 73% are making one transfer, 18% making two transfers. We've not had a wildcard active for a while now, which does make sense really. We're going to have a look at the updated blank and double Gameweek landscape in a minute, because there is an opportunity to wildcard a bit later on in preparation for those double Gameweeks and blanks, in theory which should get you more points. If you feel like your team's in a bad spot, just be patient with it. It's better to fix it with a hit or two, rather than trigger the wildcard earlier than necessary. So who are the experts buying and selling for Gameweek 26? The top transfer in is a tie, so Arteta and Glasner, 18% are buying them each. 33% are selling Slot as well. It's a huge number that used their assistant manager on Slot and Moyes back in double Gameweek 24, when we knew we had another double Gameweek 25 coming as well. And for the final week, Arteta and Glasner are their favourite replacements. The safer, obvious choice is obviously Arsenal, given they're home to West Ham, and they're the favourites for a clean sheet next game week. 6 points for a manager win, 3 points for a draw, 1 point per goal score, 2 per clean sheet. So if it ends 2-0, that's 10 points, not to be scoffed at. But lots of chasing bonus, 18% going for Glasner, 3% going for McKenna, Van Nistelrooy and Pereira. 10 extra points if your manager wins and their opponent's 5 or more places above them at the game week's deadline, not when the game kicks off. 5 points for a draw as well. So like if Palace draw 2-2 with Fulham, that's also 10 points. Or if Ipswich can beat Spurs again, let's say 2-1, that's 18 points, which is massive. Arteta's got the higher floor but the lower ceiling really as far as potential output. Meanwhile, Leicester, West Ham, Wolves, Palace, Ipswich and Southampton have got the high upside this week if you fancy a bit of risk. Depends what kind of FPL manager you are really. Some of you love a differential or a differential captain, and the same applies to assistant manager choices. Some of you will like a blend of playing safe and taking risks of course, which is great as well. Glasner is unbeaten in his last 8 away games, and he won their last 3 away without conceding. Fantasy Football Scout did a really good article actually, basically breaking down all 20 teams and how often they got table bonus this season and their wins, draws and losses, which I recommend reading. Ipswich have had 2 bonus wins, 5 bonus draws in 15 games. Wolves have had 3 bonus wins, 3 draws in 17. So the most bought player is Dango then, 12% are buying him, 7% Cliver, 1% Semenyo. So for Bournemouth it's Wolves home next, so it's a nice entry point. Then they've got Brighton away, Spurs away, and then Brentford home in blank Gameweek 29. It is worth noting they've got Ipswich home in Gameweek 30 as well. I was chatting to Talon Adim earlier in preparation for this video. He's the fixtures guru, like Ben Crellin as well. And he said there's about a 50% chance that we have Gameweek 33's doubles confirmed by the Gameweek 30 deadline. And then about a 90% chance that we have double Gameweek 33 confirmed by the Gameweek 31 deadline the next week. So this is kind of critical for chip strategy. Like if we know Gameweek 33's doubles before Gameweek 30, then you could wildcard that week immediately after blank Gameweek 29. Otherwise, if we don't have information, you're going to have to wait till Gameweek 31 at the earliest, and therefore Bournemouth players could come in really handy in Gameweek 30 as well with that Ipswich fixture. Further to that, if we don't know Gameweek 33's doubles till Gameweek 31, it could affect those of you still with the assistant manager chip to play as well. Because in an ideal world, you wildcard Gameweek 30 and then use the assistant manager chip on Newcastle in Gameweek 30 for Leicester, and then there's the potential back-to-back double game weeks for Newcastle. Otherwise, you're going to have to use the assistant manager in Gameweek 32 instead, directly into the 2 doubles, but also the blank game week. I mean, there is also a scenario where you just don't wildcard at all till later in the season, but it could be tricky to get the best team for the doubles. Anyway, I'm working towards triple Bournemouth myself to keep myself flexible, and remaining flexible is always a good thing in FPL. Elsewhere, 12% are buying Cunha, who's shown some form as well with goals in his last 2 games against Liverpool and Villa. Again, like Bournemouth overall, nice block of fixtures ahead, including Southampton in blank Gameweek 29, and they've got West Ham home in Gameweek 30 as well, if that ends up a chipless week for you. Ahmad is the most sold player, and he's ruled out for likely the entire remainder of the season, so he's a priority sell if you've got him. The Bournemouth midfielders or Waneri look like the way to go. 4.6 mil Waneri is being transferred in by 7% of the experts, in fact. Now, he doesn't blank in Gameweek 29, and he's got West Ham home next, and he's looking nailed as well with all those injuries. 0.97 goal involvements per 90 this season he has, which actually ranks highest of all under 21 players in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, just ahead of Wirtz. Obviously he's played limited minutes, but it just goes to show what serious talent he is, only 17 years old. Waneri is going to be at least 10 million in the 2027-28 season, mark my words. Anyway, let's do a refresher on the state of play after last Gameweek's announcement. I've spent ages on a new graphic here as well to help you build a better picture, so let's have a look at the notable game weeks coming up. Gameweek 29 is a blank game week, which I think we're all aware of by now. It's Villa, Palace, Liverpool, Newcastle that blank in Gameweek 29. So don't go wasting valuable transfers if that'll leave your team light in terms of fielding a solid 11 in Gameweek 29. If you plan to free hit that week, then ignore that advice of course. Gameweek 32 unexpectedly dropped on us last week. Palace and Newcastle guaranteed to double. Palace will play City away and Newcastle away. Pretty brutal double, but Mateta, Eze, Munoz could be popular picks, maybe Henderson in goal. Triple Newcastle probably going to be the meta given that they're home to Man United and Palace. Hall, Gordon and Isak feels like the default trio. Murphy and Barnes are competing, so I'd swerve them. Really, it's just whether to save money on Hall and go for another defender like Botman or Pope/Dubravka, whoever's number 1 by then. I have a feeling it might be Pope. So let's get to the graphics that I've made for you. Gameweek 33 will be a double game week, and it's going to be dictated by FA Cup results. And as mentioned earlier, there's about a 50% chance that we'll know before the Gameweek 30 deadline who doubles in Gameweek 33. About a 90% chance that we'll know by the Gameweek 31 deadline. So I've put the double game week percentage likelihoods against every team that could double there. Chelsea, Everton, Spurs and Liverpool on the right hand side should have a single game week. So 16 teams have got varying chances. Just note, not all 16 teams will double. Lots of the Premier League teams play each other in the FA Cup, so it's one or the other in those scenarios. But the percentage odds are here. It could be something like 4 to 6 teams that double. Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Man United and Forest are likeliest at the moment. Newcastle have got around a 35% chance of getting those back-to-back double game weeks currently. There will be a big blank game week immediately afterwards in Gameweek 34. Again, here's the odds of each team blanking. The biggest blank game week of the season, and it is a promising week to use your free hit. However, now that we can roll up to 5 transfers, that's another possible way of getting through that week. The challenge is the teams are going to blank straight after they double. Chelsea, Everton, Spurs and Liverpool won't blank. One thing to know is there is a possibility of teams not in Europe just to play their weekend game in the midweek of Gameweek 34 instead, rather than it being a blank for them. We'll have to see if they do that or not. There is a chance the Premier League do it, but the expectation is it'll be a blank. Although it would be easier to navigate Gameweek 34 without a free hit if they just move the fixtures from the weekend to the midweek. But that does leave Gameweek 36 as a possible final opportunity to use the free hit if it's easier to get through Gameweek 34, because Gameweek 36 will be a double game week as well. Let's say hypothetically Gameweek 34 looks doable with free transfers, then I'll be using my free hit in Gameweek 36. Unless of course you subscribe to the idea that Gameweek 38 is the best free hit opportunity after that, amidst all the anarchy in the rotation. So yeah, in Gameweek 36, Southampton and Everton are the only teams that definitely won't double. Everyone else actually has a chance of doubling in Gameweek 36 and blanking in Gameweek 37. We'll talk lots about the double and blank Gameweek picture in the coming weeks as the picture becomes clear, so make sure you're subscribed. So looking at chips then, as we said, no wildcards active this week, but 85% are sitting on an active assistant manager. Objectives, Matt FPL's one of those. He's finished top 5k twice in the last 3 seasons. He shared his team with us and his chip strategy, including assistant manager for Gameweek 26. His team for Gameweek 26 is Pickford, Howson, Gabriel, Trent, and Mbumo, Palmer, Salah, Dango, Wissa, Isak and Mateta, and he's got slot assistant manager at the moment. Here's what he had to say. Captaincy and assistant manager are a little trickier this week. Salah's my first choice captain, but with a less favourable fixture against City, there could be a chance to go differential, such as Isak and Mbumo, or even a Bournemouth mid like Dango. So assistant manager then, I've got a good feeling about McKenna for Ipswich's home game against Spurs, also with a table bonus on the cards. Ipswich proved earlier in the season that they can beat an arguably stronger Spurs side away, so they'll have confidence in doing it again at home. They'll out-Patrick anyone. As prices don't change on managers, we're going to wait for the press conferences and any last minute news before confirming, but outside of drastic news, McKenna's where I'll likely end up. Looking forward, I'm planning on navigating Gameweek 29 without a free hit, so that it can be used in Gameweek 34 to easily jump between the swinging fixtures and blanks. I then have the wildcard and triple captain to use, having done an unsuccessful early bench boost in Gameweek 1. Hopefully with the weaker doubles this year, it wouldn't bite me too badly. Wildcard's going to be used between Gameweek 30 to 32, and triple captain left for the best opportunity in one of the double game weeks, more than likely in Gameweek 36. Good luck, Matt, appreciate you sending in for us. On to captaincy next then. What are the experts doing with so many good options? There's 7 different names this week, though Salah does get the majority of 75%. Then it's in Boomer of 12%, Isak 5%, and then a few percent between Palmer, Dango, Son and Watkins. Although Salah has got Man City away, we're well aware of his record-breaking pace. He's on 271 points. Have a guess how many points he was on at this exact stage of the season when he set the all-time record with 303 points. 189 he was on, and he's on 271 now. It seems almost impossible, but he's 82 points ahead. So there's a strong case to be made that anything other than Salah might be overthinking it. It is an opportunity to go elsewhere though, to play devil's advocate. Like the projection tools have got several players genuinely dead even, so it's free risk if you want to look at it that way. FPL Review's got Odegaard on 6.1 points. Palmer, Salah, Isak and Boomer and Trossard all on 6.0 points. It's the first time all season that we've had a 5-way tie. Well, it's basically a 6-way tie. Haaland's on 5.5 just behind, Dango 5.5. And Boomer's got the best fixture. He's against Leicester, who've got just 1 win and 9 losses in their last 10. Over that run, they're literally the only team in the league not to keep a clean sheet, 25 goals conceded. Only Southampton have conceded more, 26 over the last 10. Let us know in the comments who you're going with for captain. Moving on to the experts team for Gameweek 26, so the template team in other words, who are the 15 most owned players across the hundreds of experts teams in this series. And it's Pickford in goal, it's Trent, Gabriel and Robinson in defence, Palmer and Bumo, Salah, Dango and Clivert in midfield, Isak and Wood up front. On the bench, Fabianski, João Pedro, Hall and Mikalenko, and Slot remains assistant manager. It's a massive shame João Pedro has recently lost his spot, because Southampton away would have been such a perfect fixture to play him. How many players have you got from the experts team this week? It's an amazing lineup, all things considered. I'm just counting up how many players it's got that blanks in 29. So Trent, Salah, Isak and Hall. So all in all, very well set up with just 4 players blanking. João Pedro obviously an issue as well to address later if he doesn't get back in the team. There's 4 game weeks between now and game week 29 anyway, so that's 4 free transfers for us all to sort our teams out. Wood's got awful fixtures, but he just can't stop scoring, can he? Although he's got Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City as his next 3, he does have Ipswich in game week 29. Just 6 players for me in the experts team this week. Let's have a look at the final thoughts and tips for game week 26 sent in by the experts then. FPL Focal says, moving on from Emery to either Arteta or Glasner. Arteta the safe choice, Glasner the high risk, higher upside table bonus pick. I've gone with the upside of Glasner. To get 11 players for blank game week 29, I will have to take a -4 at some point, and with Gakpo a doubt, this is a good game week. However, it will be Sarr finally leaving my team for Ouattara. Sarr's had decent underlying stats, but the FPL points just aren't there, and Bournemouth have a great run of form and fixtures, so I'm happy to double up. My plan is to dead end into blank game week 29 and bring in Haaland, which means I need to trim a lot of budget, so the Bournemouth mids are essential for that. I'll also need to sell Trent and Gakpo to finance Haaland, but despite his knock, I want to hold on to them for the Southampton game, hence I'm not selling Gakpo this week, but I'll need someone to take his place in the starting 11. Zambada FPL says, I don't think moving assistant manager from Slot for a -4 is worth it. Ben Coleman says, this week feels like an opportunity to go against Salah as captain, especially for those of us looking to make up ground. I'm going for Mbeumo against Leicester. It doesn't feel ideal with the match being away, but there's no clear choice and I can't see any better options. And lastly, Alex says, I'll be leaving my arseman on Emery as Villa could easily get a result against Chelsea. I'm currently planning to roll one of my transfers, but I'm tempted to move away from Alisson as keeper. I'll make a decision just before the deadline. Thanks for watching as always, and make sure you subscribe for some crucial FPL content to come in the coming weeks with blanks and double game weeks on the horizon. See you soon for the next one.